Thank you for joining us again for another Works with DW Spectrum webinar. And today we're lucky enough to be joined by the team from Triton Sensors. So we have Lance and Garrison. Hey guys, thanks for
Hey,
joining us
Patrick.
this morning.
Thank you.
It's our
All right.
pleasure. Absolutely.
But without further ado, I'll let Garrison talk about the company and the product and the solution. All right,
Awesome.
take it away.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Patrick, and thanks for having us. And thanks everyone for hopping on and for your attention here today. Yeah, just to introduce myself, my name is Garrison Parthamore. I'm one of the three co-founders of Triton. I'm also joined by Lance Parthamore. He is my brother and my better half. And we started this company about 5 years ago when we were still in high school. Our company is based in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where we grew up. But back in high school, Lance and I were in a STEM club together. We actually started the STEM club, but this whole company started at kind of like with a science fair project with the goal to, kind of help make Pennsylvania a better place. And at the time is kind of when the whole like kind of vaping crisis started. That company, Juul, kind of popularized it by kind of marketing towards teens and stuff like that. So we had a lot of friends that got really addicted to vaping. And for that science fair project, we just, set out to make a sensor to help, detect and deter. Um, and around in the time of COVID, we realized it wasn't just a problem at our school, but it was, a nationwide and an international crisis. So we kind of set out to, bring a product to market that would really help, schools like ours deal with that problem. And over the last 5 years have really grown our product and our products in our company. Now we're on our third kind of iteration of sensor, where the goal, still is obviously to help, our customers fight against the vaping and the drug epidemic. But I'd say it's much more shifted to protecting any private space. You can't put a camera, it's bathroom, changing room, that's the locker rooms. And today we'll be talking about our ultra sensor, which is kind of our generation of sensor. And where the whole goal is to protect private spaces where you can't put cameras. It's also a first foray, our big push outside of a school and be calling a vape detector to really kind of market us more as an overall safety solution, which is pretty sweet. And we actually were kind of inspired to do this really based on our technology partners, our end users, and our integrators who kind of gave us such really great feedback on our other sensors, saying like, hey, it's awesome you could do this, but what if you could do this? We're having these problems. What can we do about that? So that really inspired us to actually make this sensor, and we're really, really proud of, what we've done with it, what the use cases we already have with it, and, what we continue to do. So if you have any, questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I think Lance will kind of be moderating that while I am talking a little bit here today. But again, feel free to reach out to us with any cool use cases. We're happy to, we're huge on, taking that feedback, and majority of it actually goes into the product. So Lance and I are very creative. It's really, our partners and our customers who kind of drive our innovation. And so anything, everything, please share with us. But yeah, we'll go ahead and just get started with that first slide then, or the next slide, which kind of talks about some of the different features of the sensor itself. So yeah, first, people think of us for the vaping and for the drug detection, and don't get me wrong, we're extremely good at that. Customers that install our sensors see on average between a 60 and 80% reduction in drug use, whether it be vaping, cigarettes, marijuana, etc. We're really proud of that. But I think it's all those additional safety features that really come into play and, kind of prove a value of a sensor like this. And I think a lot of people are kind of blown away that we can kind of fit all of this into one little sensor that, is, super small, and just looks like, anything you'd see on a normal ceiling. So all those features in green are kind of the new exclusive features. But some of the things we added is like gunshot detection, screaming and shouting detection, glass break detection, and things along those lines. We've always had the emergency keyword detection. It kind of works like Alexa. It's like actively listening, but instead of words like, hey, Alexa, it's words like help me and stop it and emergency, which is great if someone's ever in duress, whether it be a student that's being bullied or a nurse that's being harassed. or someone that being robbed. Having that keyword detection is really cool. And we even have the ability to kind of program custom keywords, which is really sweet, and even in the multiple languages, just to help with anyone that where English might not be their first language, and other countries as well. Gunshot detection, we have such big problems here in the U.S. with guns, so being able to detect that is great for early warnings and whatnot. And then one of the new features that's been kind of hotly anticipated is our loitering detection. I think this is probably the coolest thing. We have something called occupancy visualization. It's kind of shown there on the bottom right. But what it does is it combines two different features that, excuse me, that loitering detection and that people counting to show you how many people are in a room, where they're at in the room, and how long they've been there. So we use something called an ultrasonic sensor to accomplish this, but it's really great for total situational awareness. We often see that overcrowding and loitering are like the number one indicators of bad behavior. So being able to kind of see into these private spaces and kind of know what's going on is really, really awesome. In a school environment, we have SROs like actively monitoring, their SOC. They have spectrum pulled up. They can see all their cameras. They also can see all their sensors. And if something is going on in the bathroom, they'll know about it right away, which is really awesome. Glass break detection we've added for vandalism, which is pretty cool. And then I think a new thing I think a lot of our installers will appreciate is the 4 device PoE daisy chain. So before it was just a Cat6 cable to every sensor, but now you can daisy chain up to 4 together. It's a win-win for everyone. Less cable, less manpower, and we even have some customers that won't even run new cabling. They'll like steal a cable from an external camera, power the device, and then run a patch cable back to that camera with our Ethernet out. So it's really a great, removes a lot of barriers to entry to installing a sensor like this. So yeah, that's kind of some of the cool features of the device itself. And I'll next talk about some of the cool use cases in our key business sectors. So yeah, I keep talking about like protecting private spaces. You can't put a camera, and that was really inspired by about 70% of bad behaviors, happening in those private spaces. Because it makes sense if you want to do something you're not supposed to, why would you do it kind of out in the open where, a camera could watch you, or, some type of supervisor could, or stop you from doing that. So we see, people going to these private spaces to do that. Schools are number one vertical. They use a lot of the features like the drug detection, the loitering detection for, kids cutting class, as well as a lot of those other, safety features like the distress keywords, the people counting, the loitering detection, and stuff like that. But our two quickest growing markets is healthcare and retail. The healthcare use case is really cool. We see these used all the way from patient rooms to surgery suites to even just in hallways. So like a lot of times dementia patients, there'll be like patient wandering and things like that. So being able to see if someone's going to, an unauthorized part of the building is pretty cool, but also aggressive, behavior directed at nurses, keywords. So like if a nurse or someone feels threatened in any way, or if someone falls in a bathroom, they can yell one of our keywords, or you can even program your own. I want to add one. I fall, can't get up. I think that would kill it. So I think that'd be pretty funny. But in the US, with like Medicare and stuff like that, hospitals make their money based on patient satisfaction. So being able to monitor, air quality, temperature, everything like that to ensure that, patients are comfortable is also really awesome. So yeah, that's some of the cool use cases. And then the retail environment, there's some other cool opportunities I think we have for there. One of my favorites is our crowding detection. We call it crowd count. Basically, we have this pretty cool program that scans for the number of like signals in an area, signals from cell phones. And that's a really good indicator as to the number of people in an area. It's like within the 90th percentile of accuracy, which is really awesome. So you can know in real time, how crowded each, one of your locations are. This is really good for business analytics, seeing like peak times for business, maybe when you need to add staff. You can maybe see like a problem coming before it happens. I'll talk about a use case here in just a second. but might be have to add a second location or something like that. Just business analytics trends is really really helpful for those customers. And then also we've seen a lot of different states, and I'm not sure, I don't think it's a national thing yet, but require having like panic buttons and stuff like that in retail environments, especially in places like changing rooms. So using the keyword detection as a panic button is pretty awesome, I'd say. And then also like glass break detection about one customer here in just a little bit who's taken advantage of that, which I think is pretty sweet. But and on the right hand side is some of the other organizations and industries that we are working in. One of the ones that's not on there, but I'm excited about is like prisons. One of the features we're about to introduce is like cell phone detection on Ultra. Basically, if we can detect like unauthorized cell phone usage, like prisons, that's the number one kind of contraband item. So I'm kind of excited to see the use cases for that as well. But I think, higher education dorms are such an obvious place for this, for seeing, if overcrowding in an area, like, there's a party going on, drug use, etc. So a lot of cool opportunities for the sensor beyond just schools. But yeah, we'll talk about some of the cool kind of case studies, customers using these sensors, and kind of why they came to us. First, I'll talk about this Peel District School Board. I think it's like one of the biggest school districts in Toronto. They call them school boards. But they really came to us because in their bathrooms they're having really bad problems with like fights, bullying, and overcrowding. Obviously, like any school, they had problems with like drug use and stuff like that too. But those were the really big things. And they came to us and invested in our sensors, and it's been a really, really successful deployment. I think they've been able to cut down on fights in the bathrooms by about 70%, which is pretty cool. Just with the technology sensors, and all their schools have a hall monitor who kind of walks around with an iPad and is able to kind of get the alerts and kind of act on it right away, which is really cool. So that's a really successful use case. I think they have 90 secondary schools. We're in 9 of them, and they're just adding them with the budget as they get more budget. So really continue to grow with that account, and so it's been a really awesome customer for us. And then so this one, this is kind of a cool one. So, we're able to detect a lot of drugs like, normal like vape, THC, etc., cigarettes even. And a lot of those we're able to test in-house or through one of our nefarious friends. But we had this gas station chain come to us, and they're looking for like meth detection. And I love Triton, but I don't think I'd smoke meth for Triton to test out the sensor. We're pretty confident that we'd be able to pick up on meth. But they came to us because, basically people were going in their bathrooms, smoking the meth and leaving. But I guess with meth, it like kind of like if it gets on a surface and it's not cleaned pretty quickly, it'll actually like ruin the surface. You have to like replace drywall. You have to like clean and fix the HVAC system and stuff like that. So it's just a nightmare for them. So we actually worked with them. We sent them some sensors, and we had the data from the sensors reporting to us, and the people at the store would alert us if meth was used. We checked that sensor data, and we were able to kind of build an algorithm to detect meth use, which is really cool. And we're building out that account. I think we're in a bunch of their different locations right now, which is kind of sweet. Meth was the main thing they came to us for, but they also like that we can, how many people are in the room, because most of their bathrooms are like single use only. We can also detect if someone's, been in there too long. But also, I think they also use our keywords like at their like register, because if one of their like staff members can kind of see someone sketchy coming in, they can like say one of those keywords, kind of like a distress word or like a safe word, and then I think their headquarters actually gets an alert, and they can kind of watch on the cameras and see, hey, do I need to call the police, send someone, something along those lines, which we're pretty proud of. So yeah, another cool use case.
All right. And then we've got
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and here's our pricing go-to-market strategy. We sell through the channel. We have a tier-based partner network. We have a silver, a gold, and a platinum tier. And we just have to update this. We're adding ScanSource as one of our distributors as well. But we're really big on proof of concepts. We're happy to send free demo devices to really end any customer you have in mind. We see this as a huge return on investment for us and for our partners and everyone involved. It's also great for kind of proving the use case. Some people are a little skeptical of the technology just because they maybe don't understand it or have or just are skeptical for whatever reason. So we're very happy to prove the value of a solution like this. I try to think of these sensors kind of as like new cameras, if that makes sense. Because if you think about like 20 years ago, maybe even less, it was like I know it's barely alive at that point, honestly, but that's when kind of cameras started coming on the scene, kind of started popular. And I think a lot of people were kind of freaked out at first. They're like, oh, they think it's weird that, there's a camera in somewhere. But now if I go into any place, I think it's weird if they don't have a camera. And I think that's what we'll see with sensors, probably here in the next couple of years. So they work awesome and they have some really, really cool use cases. And it's really all about protecting those private spaces, and kind of helping cover any of those spots, which could be considered like a blind spot in someone's security protocol.
So Garrison, I know you can. So each one of those sensors, you see the ultra sensor there in the image. Um, each gets an IP address and gets put on the network just like a camera would, right?
That's exactly.
And then you can daisy chain the sensors. How
Yeah,
many?
yeah. You can have up to four. So each sensor uses about 5 watts of power. So with regular PoE, you can do up to three. If you do PoE plus, which are most ports nowadays or switches, you can do up to four. And we even have some customers that run cameras off this. So I kind of brought up that example earlier. Like if you don't want to run extra cabling, you can just kind of probably steal the cable from a camera and then run
Yeah.
a patch cable back to the camera, from our Ethernet out. That's for like regular dome and bullet cameras and stuff like that. Like the PTZs are a little too big for us though.
Yeah, so we have a device that'll take that run and split it. So if you have an existing camera run for let's say the hallway outside the bathroom, and then you can add that device and then add a sensor that goes inside the bathroom, um, so that you have video of the entryway, and then you've got the sensor inside the private area. Works really well with our splitter.
Absolutely.
In terms of the amount of area that a sensor can cover,
Sure.
what's the ideal mounting height? How many sensors would cover, a large restroom?
Sure. Absolutely. So our recommendation is each one of the sensors will cover about 12 feet by 12 feet for a lot of the drugs, the vaping, the THC, the stuff like that. A lot of those audio features will work up to about 15 by 15 feet though. But to get all the features, we say about 12 feet by 12 feet. And that's based on about an 8.5 foot ceiling. Yeah. And for some bathrooms, that's plenty. Others require more sensors. But yeah, generally,
So 12 by 12 area at 8.5 feet high. Um, Kind of multiply out number of sensors required based on the size of the restroom area.
absolutely.
I'm gonna go back to the features in your feature set here, because this slide is almost a representation of what the device will actually stream, something very similar to this with all the metrics inside of the device area, and then your visualizer, uh, how it shows the number of people in the room and how long they've been there by the color coding. Um, you know, so each sensor streams that information as well as information about the air quality and settings within the interface, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, the RTSP stream is really, really nice. Absolutely. And yeah, half of it's basically shows you exactly what's going on in the room, and the other half shows you like, if something is detected at the bottom is a lot of this, kind of live metrics, which is pretty sweet.
So essentially, once you've got this hooked up to the network, within the interface of the sensor, you can create the rules to send that information into DW Spectrum. So the Spectrum integration it uses what's called a generic event to receive the information from the sensor, and from that you can then do things like have it pop up on a screen, or number of sensors. You can add them to the layout so that with our new hotspot feature, it's fantastic that you could follow students down a hallway, or and then when they go into those private areas, you could have an associated sensor on that camera and pop up the interface for the sensor as well, to see how many people are in that room even though you don't have the visualization on it. It's like we have a couple of questions. There was a question about loitering detection.
Yeah.
It's available now.
Yeah, that was like I'd probably say the killer feature of this device. I think that's what the eye candy people love, and it's it's really awesome because there's nothing else on the market that can kind of give you total insight into private spaces. So yeah, that's live. That's we officially launched this device thing in like April and started launching or shipping it in June, and it's been available ever since. There's a question about three distributors. So we work with Graybar, Wesco, and Jenny, and we're adding a scan source. Yeah. Absolutely. And then keywords. So right now there's like five like default keywords, but you can add up to five additional if you wanted to. And working on the ability to add kind of custom ones, and in like multiple languages too, which should be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Um, How does someone determine so someone saying keywords in a real emergency? So our keywords are designed to be said with intent. So one of our words is help me. So like let's say can you help me, mow my grass after work or something like that. That's using the word help me. It'll never pick up on that, but it will pick up on if you say help me, if that makes sense. So it does have to be said with intent.
Yeah, so I would add with the visualization that it's a good reason to add a DW Spectrum license uh, to that channel because you can record the activity long term through Spectrum. Um, so the Triton device is not going to record. Obviously, it's doing its sensing function. It can send its alarm events to Spectrum for pop-up for mobile notification. So you have the full suite of rules inside of Spectrum uh, based on an alarm event inside of the Triton sensor. And then if you add a recording license to it, you will have that visualizer recorded history of that visualizer as well.
Absolutely. And that's really valuable, for going back and checking, let's say, someone's like, hey, I was, assaulted in the bathroom, 2 weeks ago. And if you don't have that recording, then it's like, someone's word against someone else. Whereas with our sensor, you record that, you go back in time and you can see, oh yeah, there were two people in there. Oh yeah, it was elevated noise that was going off. There probably was something going bad. Um, Absolutely. And then question is like, can you do keywords in other languages like Spanish? Yes, we do have that capability. Right now you have to like request a custom firmware file from us to build those keywords. We're working on the ability to kind of make it a little, easier to do that. But yeah, absolutely Spanish, French, German, Korean, we Arabic, we do it all.
Okay, any other questions out there? Doesn't look like it, but as I mentioned, go back to the initial slide there with some email addresses. So always available to discuss and demonstrate and talk about the product and the solution. Feel free to reach out to us. And, we've actually gotten quite a few of these now to be integrated with Spectrum. So it's been a great little product since it's become available. So encourage everybody who's interested to check it out. Was there one more? Keywords.
Yeah. As new features are released, how are they provided? They're provided just via a firmware update. We have like an admin list who we send updates to with like release notes and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Again, by all means, if anybody has any more questions, please feel free to reach out. Again, guys, appreciate the time this morning. Thank you very much.